Greetings, my fellow freedom lovers and sovereign thinkers. This is the LL3 Podcast. Thank you for tuning in. My name is Craig, transmitting from the beautiful swampy Mangrove, South Florida. And today's date is Thursday, January 2nd, 2020. Wishing everyone a happy new year. Exciting time to be alive. And just let you folks know, start a hashtag called Notification 2020. I encourage everyone using it. Facebook, Twitter. I'm going to get many other sites on there as well. Use it, utilize it. Anything that's considered unconstitutional, tyrannical, etc. Put that in there. Time to let the world know we're going to defy all forms of oppression. Yeah, so actually I had a good New Year's Eve. Just stayed in the area, saw a band called Nirvana, which is a tribute to Nirvana. And I have to say they were good, entertaining. Nice little turnout for downtown Fort Lauderdale on their New Year's Eve party. Didn't do any fireworks, but I'm not too surprised. I could really care less. And of course, we know about what's going on, talking about what's happening with Iraq, the embassy. I already brought the thing on blowback, which is a shame. When are we going to bring all of our troops home and learn that imperialism has consequences? Plus, I went to see Seven Dust acoustic jam they did at Revolution on the 30th. I have to say it was a nice set, good vibe, good people. You don't have to be a big fan. I like them, but you don't have to be a big fan. But the atmosphere was beautiful. We all got along, no issues. Everyone had a wonderful time. So always check them out when they do these things. It's very entertaining. Yeah, and of course I've been watching the Idiot Box on those garbage media stations, which when you go to a restaurant or a bar, I just start laughing. And I know the FDA wants to do certain bans on vaping. That's right. Control everybody. Control. And of course, the whole thing on big tobacco with the $1.4 trillion budget they threw in there. Can we say federal overreach? Well, they did that with alcohol. Federal overreach. All you gotta do is read James Madison's Feller's Papers 46. That the state and local governments don't have to cooperate with the federal government. Of course, the 10th Amendment as well. Got to be utilizing that more often on the state and local level. And don't get me wrong, it's been happening. But now with these, push back. And you got some madman, who was up in New York, was accused of using machete on people on Hasidic Jewish community. And now they're saying he was on prescription pills. Ho-ho! Could we say another Manchurian Candidate or SSRI case? And what really gets me the most when you got these people claiming about anti-Semitism, how come you don't use your right for self-defense under natural Jewish law? I did a show on that a while back, pertaining to the Tree of Life Temple, I think it's called, in Pittsburgh. When the rabbi was talking about we need tougher gun laws, but they're contradicting their own faith. Yeah, look that up. And it's very interesting. It's in my archives. So many things, this crazy stuff. Of course, what's his name? Julian Castro dropped out or got his or suspended his campaign. Well, don't go figure. He's a constitutional literate. Just like the rest of the clowns that are running. We need our next Lord and Savior for president. Shut up. It's invalid. You got too many Zionist hacks on all sides, both factions. And of course, laws in Florida are going to try to push for more tyrannical items, which is invalid on Article 1 of the Florida Constitution called Declaration of Rights. I may do a show on that maybe another time. But gotta be ready for these people. Of course, what's going on in Virginia, what's going on around the world. Pay attention. Even Australia with those fires. I can say it was man-made based on the one reporter, a couple of reporters down there. Even was it called New South Wales, that river, one of their main rivers, is dried up. They made a dam. Now it's summertime. Yeah, droughts. Yeah, synthetically, I can say. Yeah, look that up. Don't rely on the mainstream garbage media to tell you these things. And a lot of good information out there, even before YouTube starts disbanding them. And there's a train going by. Yeah, I'm in my camper, just mellowing out here a little bit. Yeah, I'll probably do 2-3 articles. One, the latest, a few days old, I would say. But they're interesting topics. So let's just start it off. Yeah, this one came out of the Freedom Articles. Good little site. Alternative media, independent news. Free your mind. The article, freedomarticles.com. Subscribe. Check them out. There's very good stuff. This one's entitled Binary Thinking. Opposing interventionism in Nation X means you love Nation X's government. From Catelyn Jones. Came out 3 hours ago. Beware this kind of black and white binary thinking. Opposing interventionism in Nation X means you love Nation X's government. Now, this reads here about binary thinking. Every time you speak out against Western imperialism or in a given nation or question Western propaganda narratives about that nation's government, you will inviolably be accused of loving that nation's government by anyone who argues with you. When I say inviolably, I'm not exaggerating. If you speak in any public forum for any length of time expressing skepticism of what we're told to believe about a nation whose government has been targeted by the U.S. centralized empire, you will with absolutely certainty eventually run into someone who accuses you of thinking that government is awesome and pure and good. Of course, right off of Mind Control 101. I never ever had this fail to occur even once. If I write an article about the mountain of evidence suggesting we were lied to about a chemical attack in Syria, I get people telling me I think Bashar al-Assad is a Girl Scout who's never ever done anything wrong. If I express skepticism on the flimsy narratives we're being fed in the escalating propaganda war against China. If you love Beijing so much and think Xi is so innocent, and you should go and move to China. It's one of the only completely predictable things about this job. I'm sorry, I can relate with Catelyn Jones. This is why I tell folks when it comes to government, I am not lovey-dovey with any of them. I look at all the pros and cons. I know she does as well, so that's why I love reading her work. Which is of course idiotic. Understand that the U.S. government and its allies lie constantly with the full-throated support of Western news media in no way suggests a belief that the targeted government in question is wonderful, and there's absolutely no legitimate reason to infer such a thing. The indisputable fact that the U.S.-led military interventionism is universally disastrous and based on lies has nothing to do with anyone's level of emotional support for the governments targeted for destruction by the U.S. centralized empire. Yet everyone reading this who's ever tried to speak out against U.S. foreign policy has encountered the behavior I'm describing here. Exactly. Orwellian saps come from both factions, or Orwellian snowflakes. They're all the same to me. Huey and Dewey, you can say, of factions. Okay, so geopolitical factions to be exact. So I will continue on. Why is that? Why do establishment loyalists engage in such a weird, nonsensical behavior with such reliable consistency? Why do they literally always accuse anyone who questions any narrative about any empire-targeted government of having positive emotions toward that government, even though there is no rational reason for them to do so? I'll tell you why. Hollywood. The Church of Hollywood makes me intelligent. I have an IQ by watching those great movies. Here's what she has to say here. Well, not just Hollywood. Really, the dynamic we're about to discuss has been going on as long as there have been war stories. But the dominant storytellers of today are in Hollywood, and that's where the dominant war stories are told. For as long as stories have been told, those stories have been framed as a battle between good and evil. Exactly. Good and evil, of course. The good side is the side you identify with, and the evil side is the one you want to lose. You see, this is almost all depictions of war coming out of Hollywood today. From movies based on actual wars to sci-fi and fantasy films, like Star Wars and The Lord of the Rings. Over and over again, from the childhood, we are trained to assume that mass military violence must have a good side and an evil side. So when we see a war being depicted anywhere, we immediately start trying to sort out who are the good guys and who are the bad guys, usually without thinking about it. Obviously, war isn't actually about good versus evil. Usually, it's nothing more than notable geostrategic agenda versus geostrategic agenda. But because people are conditioned from an early age to overlay any ideas about large-scale conflict with this false good or evil dichotomy, there's an immediate assumption that if you're suggesting that one side might not be good, then the other side are the good guys. If you say the government pushing regime change in Iran is doing something immoral, then you're saying they're saying they're the bad guys, which means you think the Iranian government are the good guys. Yes, behavior in question really does boil down to something that's stupid. This phenomenon where empire apologists will predictably accuse you of loving an empire-targeted nation just because you oppose imperialist agendas is primarily due to a combination of dumb binary thinking and watching too many Hollywood movies. In other words, it is due to bad information meeting bad thinking. All we can really do to address this dynamic is bring consciousness to it. When someone's acting out the unexamined assumption that because you are critical of Western imperialism, you must necessarily believe that all of its targets are perfect and wonderful. You can point out the absurdity of this position and invite them to think a little harder about it, or just link them to this article. Beyond that, all you can really do is understand what you're looking at. Roll your eyes and sigh. Oh, Gatlin, bravo. She's right. We have to realize one thing, folks. I've been harping this long enough. You should, right part of the Erubanez's playbook called Propaganda, which came out 92 years ago now. Little under 92 years. Public relations. It's been working for a very long time. That's just an example. We should always recommend everyone, too, look at the Federalist and Anti-Federalist papers on imperialism or an empire. The writers were highly critical of it. That's an important thing to know. And remember, wars like this put us in debt. Now you got $23 trillion now from all the people that manifest on wars, the military-industrial complex, regardless of political party. Yep, that's true. But many folks believe in exceptionalism. That's what makes me laugh. Oh, we gotta get rid of all the Democrats. We all gotta get rid of all the Republicans. We'll be better off. It's like, like I said, Dumb and Dumber or Huey and Dewey. That's their mindset. Washington warned us about this on political factions. And of course, foreign influences. We could say Zionism or Israel. Rogue elements, of course. Wants to get us in all these wars. Don't be surprised if there are many of the rogue elements in that government. I see. Rogue elements, not as a whole. Okay, so clarify that. Want us to go to war with Iran. Zionism 101. New World Order at its finest. Folks, if you haven't learned a damn thing about 9/11, then you're a lost cause. Problem, reaction, solution. Dialect, Galilean dialect. Folks, you need to look these things up. It's essential to know that if you fall for this time and time again, not just yourself, but all your loved ones, including your grandchildren and beyond, will get screwed. Blowback. That's why I always tell people, read a good book to read. Once again, by Chalmers Johansson. Blowback. Well, how the CIA really screwed up on foreign policy. But that's just an example. It goes a lot further than that, including the Monroe Doctrine. Always look at the bigger picture. If not, then you'll put your own foot in your mouth again and again. All right, well, next one here I'm going to be checking out. Came from the American Thinker. Came out yesterday. And it's good. This one's really good. By Christopher Skeet. It's entitled, Can the Union Endure? And as it says here, at this point, Red and Blue America are not even speaking the same language. We stand near the point of what divorce lawyers term irreconcilable differences. In increasingly strident and self-assured tones, the left belief is morally superior, intellectually untouchable, and wholly justified in pursuing whatever extra-legal, corrupt, or violent methods available to implement their ideology. We can use the right as well, just be out of fairness. Talk of a breaking point has been circling conservative circles for some time, with three tangible options arising from the chatter. 1. Continue focus on barely winning elections, appointing conservative judges that uphold Obamacare, which is unconstitutional, of course, keeping Arizona from going blue, etc. 2. A divorce of sorts that peaceably divides the United States into permanent blue and red territories. I don't believe in that crap either. Factions, folks. Remember, political factions. Or 3. Civil war. The first option is the best. It's at least disruptive and preserve the Union and the Constitution, the goal that Abraham Lincoln fought our bloodiest war to support, which it was an illegal war. And 2, the Confederate States of America were a new country. So if people say it was treasonous, read the Declaration of Independence once again, especially the last couple of paragraphs. And don't get me wrong, doesn't mean I'm going to agree with everything what they stood for. But you always got to examine the bigger picture. Why it happened, what started it all, and cause and effect. Always got to look at those areas. Well, we'll continue. But what if it is sabotage? Trump and anomaly from both the Democrat and Republican point of view. His no-holds-barred street fighting style has been welcome change for many Republican voters. But once his presidency ends, is there likely to be a Trump, a Trump-like figure? Rest assured, the GOP establishment is busy recollaborating its primary process that allowed Trump to win the nomination to begin with Republican voters, thinking they won't attempt to force feed us a Romney or Jeb. Jeb is not going to happen. Okay, I can tell you that. If he runs again, He's going to get duped. Remember, folks, the past is the greatest teacher. People are tired of the Bushite propaganda. And look what happened. I'll continue on here. And of course, Romney, he's just Obama's twin brother representing Goldman Sachs. But I will continue on here. Next time around, are fooling themselves. At a minimum, in order to keep them honest, we need to be able to consider the other options. The second option, that of an amicable divorce between red and blue states, allowing for counties to switch states, seems the best option towards the preservation of the American idea. While true that the United States of America would lose some coastline and a few radical hotbeds of the newfound socialist republicans of Wokeston, we could permanently consolidate our strongholds, restructure our judiciary, clean the Eggian stables we call public schooling, and armed our Constitution with stronger protections. Such a divorce would be messy questions of interstate travel, resources, airspace regulation, migration control, and a million unforeseeable disputes would need to be hashed out before we are able to cut away the dead wood. But it's doable. Europe is in the throes of a polygamous divorce, but it is proceeding bumpily along. Even Sudan pulled it off. We all knew there's a claim that the Rothschilds were behind that, South Sudan. I will say it, but I'll continue on here. The problem is the left probably wouldn't agree to a divorce. It will play the part of jealousy, manipulative, control freak husband who never loved his wife, but rather savored the power he exerted over her. The left will delay, obfuscate, and resist divorce at all costs, even if the right unilaterally gave up the sports cars, the big screen TV, and the dog in an attempt to cut loose as quickly as possible. The economy would be, unfortunately be, to paraphrase Donald Rumsfeld, a known unknown. We would have to prepare for a temporary state of flux. We would lose fair amounts of port transportation hubs, a financial sector. The two largest stock exchanges, the NYSE and NASDAQ, each of which trade over $1 trillion a month. Both are located in New York City. Silicon Valley alone, were its own nation, would be one of the world's richest and most productive. But though we would have to brace ourselves to find our economic footing, we would not be without our own advantages. The Bakken Foundation of North Dakota alone is estimated to hold 30 to 40 billion barrels of recoverable oil. On the 31 states that are currently produce oil, 25, over 82% of total production went for the Trump in 2016. In addition, the United States has seen its best manufacturing boom in 3 decades, with over 500 manufacturing jobs created since Trump took office. In the third quarter of 2019, manufacturers' biggest concern was a shortage of skilled labor to keep up with hiring demands. This is not the concern of an industry in trouble. Our new economy would be stabilized by stable tax policy, deregulation, America's first trade negotiations, audit of the Federal Reserve, assuming we keep it, which I say hell no, and difference to supply-side free market principles. And assuming Wokestan pursued the new socialistic policy they preach, now unencumbered by such antiquated annoyances like constitutions and elections, their economy will be free fall. Silicon Valley is already bleeding residents to more tax-friendly states like Colorado, Texas, and North Carolina. Predictably, problems arise when they refuse to concede that their progressive policies were what caused their home state to go bankrupt. In our new America, gone would be days when blue state progressives are allowed to migrate to red states, bringing their ignorant voting patterns with them. He's right on that. America could focus on God, freedom, family, and productivity. Woke Stand could focus on socialism, homeless encampments, needle programs, and post-birth abortions. A wall would surely be built either by us to keep them out or by them to keep them in. Third option is civil war. Suffice to say, victory in such a war would be a foregone conclusion. Antifa-punks fancy themselves brave while terrorizing progressive cities whose socialist mayors greenlight their thuggery, but when met with actual force, they always skitter away. In a civil war during which the American side will enjoy the support and firepower on the vast majority of the military, the police, the food and energy sectors, most of the blue-collar class, and over 100 million gun owners, is doubtfully gaggles of black mask androgynous incels would offer much resistance. We won the first Civil War. We will win the second. I have to disagree on that, about the first Civil War. That's the illegal war. I'll say it once again. The war against the Confederate States of America is not a civil war. I have to disagree on that. I will continue on. This time around, the slavers have no Robert Lee, Stonewall Jackson, or James Longstreet, but rather the likes of Messer Manning, Bergdahl, and Vindman. Yeah, Kansas had slaves too. They fought for the North. I'll just continue on here. Long gone are the days when Trotsky led the Red Army full of dedicated shock troops into battle. Today, the left lacks discipline, the courage, and the spirit of self-sacrifice necessary to muster up enough volunteers for a national army. Men who micturate aghast at the torment of doing their own laundry don't win wars. Still, I would argue against this path, which I can and always does lead to unintended consequences, which I have to agree. Increasing numbers of conservative thinkers appear the open idea of civil war. Most do so hesitantly, but others seem to relish the prospect and chortle at the idea of plunging the rest of us into the abyss. If those especially those loudmouths out there that want civil war, put their asses on the front line. See how tough they are, right? Even for the winning side, the cost of both innocent victims and the quality of life endured by the survivors is far greater than those clamoring for war care to admit. Internet tough guys who never seen what a bullet does to human flesh can let me know in the comments section just how big of a pansy I am. That's fine. But to want more mature readers who ponder their own capabilities of wanton bloodshed more judiciously, I implore you to seriously reckon the ramifications upon our civilian population that civil war would entail. Sherman's march to the sea will seem by comparison a street dream. Civil war in present-day America will not consist of professional armies mowing each other down across empty fields. It will be house-to-house, street-by-street massacre, more akin to Hotel Rwanda than the battlefields of American or even Russian and Spanish civil wars. The majority of the fighting would be carried out not by professional armies, but by private citizens. Vigilantes, partisans, ad hoc, neighborhood units, and the like. People on both sides would use the breakdown in order to settle private scores and commit crimes of opportunity. Others would kill indiscriminately based on offenses such as voting records, yard signs, etc. Schools would close, hospitals would become graveyards for the untreated. Water purification plants, oil refineries, and transportation hubs would be sabotaged. Even in red states, food and energy supplies would be unreliable. Sympathizers would be targeted. Mobs would destroy and homes would burn, bombing that bedeviled Great Britain during the troubles of or present-day Afghanistan would become the norm here. I freely admit that this is all conjecture. Maybe it will be Grenada 2.0 like the neocons told us Iraq and Afghanistan would be. But when contemplating war, especially war in our own streets and neighborhoods, it behooves us to err on the side of caution. Wars usually go worse than predicted, and we have no idea what it would unleash. Despite over-mentioned advantages we would retain, the last century has proven that the left possesses an unfathomable capacity for atrocity, cruelty, and mass murder in the furnace of its ideology. Progressives will burn this nation to the ground before letting anyone enjoy the free from their benevolence. They wouldn't hesitate to murder their own children on their altars and would hesitate even less about murdering yours. In between today and this hypothetical civil war is the option of divorce. Knowing the left will only be dragged to the arbitration table kicking and screaming. But we should at least attempt it before delving blindfolded into slaughter. He's right on that. Like I said, I may have a few disagreements on some of the language here, just minor. But the article is well written. It's getting people to think. I don't want to talk about a civil war, we got to go to war, this and that. It's from both sides. I say throw them in a damn pit where a bunch of alligators, piranhas, and snakes are. Let them duke it out. Let's see how tough these people are. Don't bring it in the damn cities. You got a bunch of loudmouths out there too. You got even politicians talking about it. And they can't even wipe their own rear ends as far as I'm concerned. This is why, my friends, nullification is a good remedy. Yeah, it may have its slippery slopes. I laughed about it. One person made a comment on that one time. But I'm not to condemn either. We don't need bigger governments. I don't need people telling me how to live or wipe my rear end. I know my natural rights. It supersedes their pretentious rhetoric. They want this mind control propaganda. Oh, we gotta have a socialist system or a government system that's better than this. Please. They're almost all the same when you look at it. One tyrant falls, another one will rise. Government in Latin means control of the mind. And I see these Huey and Dewey political factions. If their guy does it, it's okay, it's exceptional. Look what happened when everyone ran the streets protesting against the war in Iraq. Impeach Bush and Cheney. But when Obama and Hillary Clinton decided to go to war at Libya, crickets. Same thing with the Trumpsters. They're like the Abominoids. My man does no wrong. As long as we got the economy, police state's okay. It's like flip-flopping. Same garbage, different package. That's how I, examine things. Study history. There's some beautiful people I know served in wars. Vietnam, Korea, World War II, even Iraqi freedom, Desert Storm. I can go on. People, folks came and say, oh man, you guys kicked ass. They don't want to talk about it. Because a lot of good, beautiful people, that comrade, they see them get killed. We got the intellectual ammunition right at our fingertips. Nullification. Stick to your principles. Honor your oath of office. Whether you're in the military, voter, even become a citizen, etc. We all have moral obligations, friends. We don't need to go to civil war on this. The information war, we can annihilate a lot of clowns like them. And as I always tell people, whether it's red or blue, expect to get screwed. Who will benefit the most from the so-called civil war? The banksters. They don't give a damn about us. They're the ones who funded the war between the states. Against the United States of America and the Confederate States of America. They funded that. But Lincoln was a great man. You better start reading the history of Abraham Lincoln. And especially his first inaugural address. Even Lincoln versus, I think his name is Davis debate. Do your homework on these areas, friends. War is not a pretty thing. It's effing disturbing. I know I'm digressing, but forgive me. This is how I see things. And it's really disheartening when people jump on this bandwagon. We can do this. Nullification 2020 and beyond. The bottom line is, they need us more we need them. Support liberty, not political factions that thrive on tyranny. I'm going to do one more here. Hopefully I get it. Yeah, this came from the Mid-Atlantic Reformation Center. And this came out New Year's Eve. The Texas shooting, an object lesson. And as it reads here, when Texas church shooting fresh in our minds, we need to understand that what happened there in 10 seconds is a microcosm of the relationship between the church and the culture. Just as the Texas yesterday, the church is under assault from those who would dilute its witness, wreck its families, and destroy Christianity altogether, were it possible. It destroys it not. The swift, skillful, and godly actions of the congregant brought a fitting and timely end to the wicked intruder before much more and worse damage could be done. Yes, there will be those who suggest that sitting by non-violently while more carnage is borne out upon innocent people is somehow a Christian witness. No, the witness of those armed congregants was just fine, thank you. It's a perfect microcosm our Christian culture built step by step, piece by piece, brick by brick, by countless Christians, some named and some forgotten over centuries, under severe attack by the generation that is bent on destroying it. He's right. It's part of the New World Order agenda, but I'll continue on here. And we have churches full of people, too often pastors, who insist that the only path, the only solution is just preach the gospel. And even that, a gospel that is pretty much limited to personal get-out-of-jail-free card for present troubles and in a ride free to heaven. Christians need to be out engaging the culture, applying God's word to the burning issues of the day. Christians need to visibly opposing the onslaught of humanism and an anti-Christian wickedness as churches and as individuals. Christians need to get outside the walls of our comfortable churches and be true witnesses to what God says and all about that is going on around us. It would have done no good in the Texas church to invite the gunmen to vacation Bible school. And it does little good for Christians to share this truncated and truculent pietistic gospel message when it's called for its wholesale, comprehensive application of our faith to the culture that engulfs us. The church needs to be a place for equipping believers, for training them for a season not endlessly, and for sending them out to change the world for Christ. Failure to pass the Christian culture that we inherited to future generations would be tragic. That's by Jim Mogul. And it doesn't matter what your belief system is. What the fellow congregants done to terminate the the aggressor. They fulfilled their moral obligations. Self-defense is righteous regardless of what your creed is, friends. And I'm no Bible fanatic like that, but I do read. I read it and I share information with people. And I have boldly admire men like Charles Van Vick from the St. James Church Massacre, and of course the gentleman that protect the church over here in Texas. Now I know the anti-gun nuts, they have a cow, but who the hell cares? Because they're in their own bubble. You gotta beware of these pathetic fools tell you it shouldn't be done like that. And here's the question you ask them. Can you prove to me that the police are obligated to protect these people? No way, no how. Technically, no. Sovereign immunity, tort liability. And so, of course, you got the NRA. Oh, they changed the laws to make them carry firearms. You know what? That should be the church's business, not the state. They even have laws of this in Florida. That needs to be abolished, because as far as I'm concerned, it's unconstitutional in our state constitutions. All you gotta do, folks, is read. I don't make things up. I don't make money off this. But we gotta stick to our principles. We've been living in a dangerous world since the beginning of time. You got all these little sensitive people that are like, oh, getting bullied. We're gonna have the anti-bullying law. We're gonna have this. We're gonna have that. State, government, protect me. I can't wipe my own rear end. Like sweet pie purebred syndrome. Underdog, save me. I'm digressing. But when someone asks me about this, I go, they chose wisely. They saved lives. Those are the people I admire, regardless. And everyone needs to start learning lessons. Prepare yourselves at the best of your ability. Learn marksmanship. Learn self-defense by all the means necessary. Even a hack like myself. A bloke. And trust me, criminals hate when people fight back. They hate it with a passion. They run scared, poop it in their pants. We need to keep that up. And love our neighbors too, as we love ourselves. Alright, my friends, that is it. I thank everyone for listening. Plus, feel free to download and share through social media networks. If you have any questions, comments, or you send something that's interesting and want to check out, whatever you do, please send your correspondence with decorum. Plus, I'll leave the footnotes of this information on my Spreaker page. So check it out. Once again, thank you for your time. Plus, always remember that demoniac resistance is healthy for the soul and can liberate humanity. Until next time, take care of yourselves. Keep on spreading love. And may your guardian spirits be with you.